They thought they would have to endure the heat of the desert for just a few months.
But Oregon soldiers have learned they can expect to serve for a year.
As KATU's Elaine Murphy has learned, it's difficult news for the soldiers and their families. Elaine?
Well, Paul and Natalie, take Oregon Guardsmen, for instance. When the 162nd Infantry was activated last February, they knew it could be for a maximum of 2 years, but they were told they would likely be home in just a few months. Now it looks like they will serve at least a year. This was Ed Winkler last February.
We've got a saying here in our armory, just posted on the wall. It says, "Here I am, send me."
But 2 days after he left, his wife Brenda learned they were going to have a baby in October.
And for the most part, we were thinking a 6-month deployment. We could handle that.
But now Ed's stay in Kuwait has been extended until December. He'll miss his baby's birth.
You know, he's not going to be there to see his new little baby take its first breath, you know, or anything like that. And you can't redo that. You can't capture that again in life.
Timelines can shift during war. The homecomings so carefully planned are being put off.
You don't like it, but you understand that's kind of the nature of the beast.
No one will say for sure when our soldiers will be home. Neither they nor their families know. They have learned not to get their hopes up and just pray their soldiers serving overseas stay safe.
It's been almost 9 months since Oregon National Guard members were deployed.
Now babies are being born into a world without their fathers at home.
It's hard enough for spouses to be apart during wartime, but it's even tougher when you're a soldier fighting for your country and your wife is at home giving birth. Today, KATU's Elaine Murphy talked to a woman who brought a baby boy into the world yesterday with his father in Iraq.
The baby came early Saturday morning, and Brenda Winkler carried her husband's dog tags into the room with her.
I would say that that the full impact of not having Ed here was probably, I think that next morning, after you kind of wake up and look at your baby again after all the excitement.
It was a boy, a beautiful baby boy with 10 fingers, 10 toes, but no dad there to welcome him into the world.
And there are so many dads who have had their babies born and haven't seen them yet.
Back in early February, Ed Winkler told us what he believes is important to remember.
Every one of these soldiers has a family. They have a job. Some of them are students. And they're sacrificing a whole lot.
2 days after he left, Brenda learned she was pregnant.
I think the hardest parts were when I would feel him moving for the first time. And I couldn't immediately go say, "Oh, Ed, put your hand here."
But today, when she looks at this little face, she sees Ed.
I would probably bet that this little guy has more hair than his dad.
And she sees his sacrifice for the family he loves.
He's emotional when it comes to his kids and his family. Yes. He says that fatherhood is sacred.
Elaine Murphy, KATU News.
8 months since hundreds of Oregon National Guardsmen left for Iraq. Now some are coming home on leave because their wives are having babies.
The story gets me. KATU's Elaine Murphy was at the airport today as 2 guardsmen came home, one to see his baby born, the other to meet his new son. It's a story you'll see only on 2.
They walked off the plane grinning ear to ear. Sergeant David Pittman on the right, Captain Ed Winkler on the left. Bravo Company 162nd Infantry. They were home. While David Pittman will be here for his child's birth, Ed Winkler wasn't.
It is difficult to put in words how I feel.
That's because when Ed left for Iraq, he and his wife had not yet learned she was pregnant.
That was a big shock. And it took me 7 weeks to get up the nerve to tell him.
His son was born Saturday. Today, he will see him for the first time. No words are needed. Ed is home.
There's your daddy.
He may not have made it in time for his son's birth, but he is there to get his first smile. There are so many things he has missed, but not the first kiss.
Well, I don't know what to say. There's just aren't words that can describe this moment. I'm looking at my son, holding hands with my wife.
And sometimes that's all you can say. Elaine Murphy, KATU News.
Ed Winkler and David Pittman have 15 days leave before returning to Iraq. Ed says about the time they get back there, Company B will be leaving Iraq for a new assignment somewhere in Kuwait.
You got through it.
Well, Paula and Natalie, Captain Ed Winkler is the commander of Bravo Company of the 1st Battalion, 162nd Infantry. And since August, he and the 130 men of Bravo Company have been guarding a section of the main supply route, or MSR, 25 miles south of Baghdad. Only on 2, he tells us how they got the Iraqi people to trust the strangers from Oregon. Every minute with his family is like gold. But Ed Winkler wanted to give up some of that time to tell all of us what his men have been doing. He is proud.
The soldiers of Bravo Company, 1st Battalion, 162nd Infantry here in Oregon, have had stunning success. We have done what no one that I know of in theater has been capable of doing, and that is completely shutting down enemy activity in a given sector.
Before they got there, Winkler says the attacks on the main supply route were constant. But when Winkler and his men went in, he had a plan.
I determined that these people, if they knew who we were, they would be less intimidated by us. And if we knew who they were, then we'd know who we need to watch out for.
He kept a journal, and in it he talks of going door to door, meeting people in the 70 homes in their sector. They got to know who lived in the house, how many children, how many wives, how many guns. And as the people began to know our soldiers, they began to trust them.
Our soldiers have eaten in their homes. We have sat in their yards, in their sitting rooms, drinking hot chai, talking about our families and their families.
That way, they identified who they should keep an eye on. But more than that, they forged a bond with the people, who began telling them when they found a bomb along the road. The people became their partners in keeping their homes safe. They looked to the men from Oregon who wore a patch on their sleeves, and Ed is proud.
I'm not hard-pressed to say that probably for the next 3 generations, the Iraqi farmers there will talk about the soldiers with the patch that looks like a setting sun.
Ed Winkler is here only until November 3rd, and when he goes back, Bravo Company will have moved on to its next assignment in Kuwait.
And it's reassuring, Elaine. We need to know those stories of the lengths the soldiers are going to get with people over there.
They say that things are a lot more positive than they feel they're being portrayed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.